Hey everyone, it's Antiswipe here. I wanted to bring out two videos or two different builds for Heist. One which is the build that I created just for Heist in the beginning of running Heist with this build, and a version 2 character, which is where I morphed the same exact build over into to go from actually doing damage to dealing no damage, or ZDPS if you consider that. But making it almost unkillable. And I say almost because there are certain things like degens that can kill the second build, but we'll get into that whenever we actually talk about that. So because this is going to be a double feature, talking about two different Heist builds, this is likely going to be a long video. So please sit back, enjoy, and if you desire one build over the other, both POBs will be the path of building links will be down in the description below, and there will be chapters in the video for you to be able to skip through to the content that you're looking for. So because the version 2 of the build, or the ZDPS build, is the build that's currently running in Path of Exile right now for me, I have to show the original build in Path of Building instead of in person. The main goal of Heist characters are to basically run as fast as possible. As you can see down here, we have 462% movement speed given all of the configuration changes that we have, which is Onslaught, Power and Frenzy charges. My flasks are active because I have a Mage Blood. I have Self Chill, which increases the action speed to 27%. You can get more. You can get up to 30%, but I can never get past 27. Well, I didn't really invest past 27 because the other 3% was not that much more, right? Just 10%. So this was plenty of movement speed. And so, yeah, so that gives us the movement speed changes, and we're running Queen of the Forest for the epic movement speed. So the whole goal of this character, like I said, is to run really, really fast, get through Heist very, very quickly, open up side chests that are in a specific importance order. And once you open up those chests, as long as you have enough alert time left on your bar, you then rush to the end and look at the curio cases to determine if there's anything good in those cases for you to pick up as a part of your blueprint Heist. The way I've ran Heist with these characters is I've bought fully revealed blueprints. That is not required. Obviously, you can farm your own blueprints if you're doing solo self-found, or if you just don't want to pay the fee to bulk buy blueprints. Right now, as of the time of this video, I believe four wing blueprints are going for about 60 chaos each, maybe even more than that, 65 chaos. Like I probably spend about 20 to 30 divines for about 120 blueprints, which that may math out a little bit differently because I think the last time I bought a bunch of blueprints, they were actually less expensive than 60, 65. They were more on the 50, 55 end. Like I said, you can look at the path of building below, but I'm going to go over some very key points of the build. This is Exsanguinate Mines. That is your main damage dealing skill, as you can see here. So we use charged mines, high impact mine, trap and mine damage, minefield, and increased critical damage because we are crit capped with full power charges, which we get to with high impact mines, I believe, or sorry, charged mines. We get full frenzy, full power charges almost immediately. This improves both our damage and our speed, right? Both attack speed, or the casting speed and movement speed, or I guess the mine throwing speed. So because this build is Surfcaster, we want to utilize the Forbidden Rite trigger setup to self-chill with 100% uptime. So Forbidden Rite is the way that we self-chill ourselves by causing ourselves to take 40% of our maximum life and 25% of our maximum energy shield as chaos damage, which right now we have full chaos res, 75%, and we get 27% chill effect. There is an argument to be said to actually get lower chaos res so that you can reach that 30% self chill. But I didn't do that. I capped my chaos res. It was just seemed simpler, and I was okay with taking a 3% hit. And the way that you run this is this goes into weapon 1, and in our case, weapon 1 is a a Tactize mod, which is the Temple mod for 4-second cooldown spell trigger. And what it's going to do is whenever you throw a mine, that is considered using a skill. And so because it's using a skill, it triggers Forbidden Rite to then cast, and whenever that gets casted, it damages you and then therefore triggers the self-chill part of the build. And the self-chill part is actually this node on Surfcaster, Changing Seasons, because all damage taken from hits can chill you, and the effective chill on you is reversed. So instead of you having reduced action speed, it actually increases your action speed, which is huge. It's one of the only ways you can increase your action speed in the game besides Tailwind. So, and we don't get Tailwind on this build. So that is how we self-chill ourselves. We have Phase Run with an enhance and more duration setup. I put this in to cast myself in cases where I didn't really need to deal any damage. I didn't really need to kill any mobs, because normally what I would do is I would run to the end. I would get the item from the curio and I would book it out. And as I'm booking it out, I'm pressing Phase Run so I can run through all the mobs as quick as possible. So this build, because it's a little squishy, you can't just run through the traps with this build, or at least not all of them. You can run through the degen ones because the degen, and I want to say the lasers, but that could be wrong. You could run through both of those because by the time that you get through them, you haven't taken any damage, because I believe they're on a tick rate, right? Obviously, damage over time is you take it immediately, but the lasers are, if you stand in them long enough, you will take damage. But this gives you the ability to run through most of Heist, going back to the entrance, and that then gives you, very quick, a quick getaway, as it were, right? Because we are heisting after all, right? We use life tap, so this will get used on our life, and we have more duration because we want Phase Run to last as long as possible. Our aura setup is Hatred, Haste, and Grace with a level 3 Enlighten. I believe this is socketed in our gloves. No, it's socketed in our boots. So we don't need a level 4 Enlighten here. Level 3 is plenty. We have enough mana to have up to 10 active mines at once, which I believe is our cap. So you don't have to worry about it. Very, very simple setup. Hatred is because we are converting all of our damage to cold, which I'll get into in a second. Grace for the evasion rating, which helps us get more movement speed from Queen of the Forest, and Haste because we get more movement speed. We have detonate mines attached to automation support or automation, so that we don't have to worry about actually detonating our mines ourselves. And so this just consistently triggers off. We normally don't get to full 10 active mines. We get to probably close to like 6 before they start, maybe even less, maybe like 5 before they start detonating because of a minefield support. I think we throw 5 mines and then they all blow up at almost simultaneously, right? So this is how we're detonating our mines. You don't have to worry about anything else. Try your best to get automation to the highest level possible. I believe 21 reduces the cooldown or increases the cooldown recovery rate so that it triggers more often. It's not necessary. 2020 is enough, but if you'd like to min-max the build, go for it. We use Decoy Totem in cases where it's needed. I didn't really use Decoy Totem all that often with this variation of the build because I was doing damage. I didn't have to push anything off to say, hey, you go over there, right? I just killed the mob, right? I just threw mines and killed them. So this is optional. I had it in because, like I said, it's an alternative. It is a way for you to put something down so that mobs can attack it while you're running through instead of you having to throw mines to kill them while you're waiting. So because the way that the gameplay loop is if you come to a door that you can't pass immediately, you trigger the heister, the rogue, to go over and begin the process of opening the door. And while you do that, you're throwing mines and you're running around, throwing mines and trying to stay away from getting hit, and then killing the mobs as they're rushing at you because they're angry you've taken their stuff. We have an Assassin's Mark. This is just to increase the crit damage, I believe, that we do on the mob. Yeah. We also get life when they're killed, which is not necessary, but it's helpful. You can probably swap this out. I didn't do any testing on swapping this out because I didn't really need to cast a mark on a mob whenever I was killing it. Instead, I just kept throwing mines. So this is likely not best in slot. I think you could do better with something else. And then Frost Blink with Life Tap and Bone Chill. Bone Chill is just so that it can increase the cold effect on the enemy whenever you do Frost Blink on them. And that is for our Heat Shiver, which we can, we're essentially going to be doing more damage whenever that chill hits the enemy. Now, we are freezing them fairly often because we're causing all of our damage to be converted to cold. And so that damage being converted to cold means this may not actually matter, but it is something that I saw in another build that was running Exsanguinate Mines heisting. And so I tried it and it seemed okay, but I didn't swap it out. It's up to you. Let me know in the comments below if you find this helpful or not helpful and why. I would love to hear from you. Okay, let's go to the items. So like I said before, we have a Trigger Scepter with a spell damage enchant. This is coming from King's March. It's really cheap, very, very easy to get. We're trying to soak in, or we're trying to get as much spell damage as possible because we want Exsanguinate to kill mobs as quick as possible, obviously, right? We're doing damage. So the best in slot scepter would be for this would be +2, +1 fizz, +1 all with the trigger. So that would be your 3 prefixes. And then you want spell crit, crit multi, and then an open suffix for mind throwing speed. That would be the creme de la creme. What I ended up doing is I got a +1 fizz, and then I actually slammed on, I believe, physical damage. No, I didn't. I reforged crit, got the crit chance and the crit multi and the physical damage in the prefix, and I had an open suffix. And so because I had an open suffix, I crafted mind throwing speed and just left it alone. But this is by no means best in slot. You can do better. The crit multi is also low. So if you get, you can get T1 crit multi. I think the spell crit is T1, so that's nice. I don't know if it's necessarily required because we're already crit capped. I don't know if how much this affects it in entirety, but having more here, obviously better, right? Just a better scepter overall. Offhand is a shield. I had a suppressed spell damage shield so that I could try to get as close as I could with lucky spell suppress to 100%. As you can see, we're up to 99%. There is more I could do to get more spell suppress. I did not do that because at the time that I created V1 of the build, I had limited funds. I had about probably 40 or 30 divines. And then, so I just kind of ran with whatever I could get my hands on. Chaos Res, as much evasion rating as you can get with Energy Shield, because our Energy Shield, while it's very low, it's 405. Having any Energy Shield is helpful because we take the Ghost Dance node. Because we have a lot of evasion rating, it allows us to recover almost all of our Energy Shield whenever we get hit. And I believe that is it. Making sure you want to make sure that you have an open, I believe that's an open suffix, so you can craft suppressed spell damage. That just gets you, more suppressed capped. Heat Shiver is the damage dealer or one of the damage dealing pieces of the build. I actually corrupted my own Heat Shiver and got +1 power charge. Very lucky, I know. I had a lot of them, right? I had a ton of them in my inventory from the builds I created in the past. I had kind of waited for this moment and I was like, all right, we're corrupting them. And I think it was like my 3rd or 4th one. I got +1 power charge. So pretty lucky. I believe if I take out, no, actually it might be required because without it, we are not crit capped. We are at 98.52. So get a +1 power charge, Heat Shiver if you can. If you can't and it's too rich, you can I would just stick to 98% crit chance. Still good enough, but it's not perfect, right? So one thing we want to talk about here is you are getting a lot of chill effect on the enemy. So the extra fire damage does help us. And I believe with Bone Chill, like I said, I haven't tested this exactly, but I would assume it does because Bone Chill, whenever we hit a mob with Frost Blink, normally you're going to be hitting a mob that is tanky with Frost Blink so that you can trigger the Bone Chill effect. It increases the chill effect on the mob that you hit it with. And so because of that, we're doing was that 30% or more extra fire damage to the enemy. And or if we don't do that and we just freeze them, the freeze is 30% of cold damage as extra fire, and it's decent, right? If we take this off, we lose a combined DPS of 863,000, so it's pretty big. The whole engine of the build, Queen of the Forest, I was able to double corrupt mine and got all white sockets, which was good enough. That isn't by any means helpful or by any means, a big deal. If you could, getting +1 to gems or +2 to duration gems, I believe, or getting more plus to skills on Exsanguinate scales your damage to the moon. As you can see here, let me start increasing the levels. You can see it just shoots up, right? Level 26, which is fairly easy to get to if you have enough plus to skills in the on your gear. It's insane. Yeah. So right now it's 23 because I have +2. I have +1 from my scepter and +1 from my amulet. But I'll get to the amulet later. So Queen of the Forest gives you increased movement speed per 600 evasion rating up to 75%. So we do hit the 75% cap. So if I took this off, we would lose a considerable amount of number 1 evasion rating, and our movement speed would go down. Oh, actually, we don't actually hit the cap. We get really close. 60% movement speed on Queen of the Forest. And the reason is because it already gives you a 25% reduced movement speed mod on it. So it already gimps you a little bit. Besides that, life resistances, very helpful to get res capped. Grim Sorrow is helpful. We are doing we're using a spell. So I was able to get spell crit chance Grim Sorrows for pretty cheap. Very, very nice. I think without this, we lose a bunch of effective crit, like 5 or 6%. Yeah, 94. We're to 94 crit instead of 100. So they getting spell crit on your Hermsar is very helpful. And the reason why we go this way is because we want to convert 100% of the fizz damage that Exsanguinate does to cold damage, so that we can take advantage of the rest of the build with Heat Shiver and the chill and / freeze, right? For boots, pretty simple boots. These would be better if you did Tailwind and Elusive. I believe they would be better, but it would be hard to get the resistances you would need, I believe. No, Tailwind is a suffix and Elusive is a prefix, or that might be vice versa. But I got a fractured movement speed boot instead. These were insanely cheap. Slink boots are not the best bases. You can get a higher base than this. And because I went this route and just did fire, chaos, res, and life with the crafted life, I went ahead and used a lesser ichor or lesser embers on these to get the chaos res and the CDR. Amulet, I went dex. I found a fractured +1 fizz amulet. So there is a way to craft this to where it's +2 with crit, I believe crit chance, crit multi. No, yeah, crit chance, crit multi with life. But it's probably pretty expensive. You would have to craft it in such a way where you're doing prefixes can't be changed once you get the +2, and then reforge crit. Now, crit multi would be helpful. I don't know if the crit chance is as helpful, because by this point, I believe we've gotten as close to crit cap as we can. So crit multi is super, super helpful here. I didn't get that. I didn't finish the amulet. I just said, okay, cool. I got % evasion rating. I got life, a good life roll. Lightning res is what I needed. And I had an open suffix for mine throwing speed. Very important. We need as much mine throwing speed as we can possibly get. And so in this case, mine throwing speed we can get on our scepter, the amulet, and I believe gloves. Yeah, but because we have a unique glove, we can't craft it on it. Kikuzaru for the life regen. Make sure you use life catalysts on this to get it to 3.6 life per second. Very helpful. Reduce effective curses on you is also very, very good. Mana regen rate also kind of helps too, because of wait, does it help? I don't think it helps actually. Just the reduce effective curses, the attributes, the lightning res, and the regen. So everything on this ring is very, very good. Life regen is helpful, like I said, because Exsanguinate Mines is using is taking up our life, and the life regen is helpful to help recuperate or recoup the damage that we take from Forbidden Rite. The Forbidden Rite trigger. This helical ring is by no means required, but you do need strength. So if we took this off, you'd be out some strength. And so you need to make sure that you can get, what is that? 38 strength. You need 38 strength out of this, but I kind of got lucky. I don't know if I used a strength essence or what, but this was a helical ring that I found in Heist from before, because I was running Heist with my Righteous Fire character before I had the funds to start this. And I think I found a helical ring within my first 150 wings. Yeah, 150 wings, which is about, is that 25 blueprints, 30 blueprints? So super lucky. I know, sorry for those of you who are out there who are saying, hey, this guy's lucky, hey, so sorry. You can get lucky too if you just make the build and run it in Heist. I already have 3 people from my community who have started Heist from seeing the stream, and they are very happy with their results. One of them has found a helical ring already. Another one has found simplex. He found simplex and 2 helical rings in like some stupid number, like 500 wings. Like the guy is ridiculous. I won't out him, but he's awesome. He's a great guy. But he found a bunch. Everyone who has started a heister has been making currency ever since they've seen it on stream. So you can too. So anyway, off on that tangent. Helical ring by no means required. All you need is strength and resistances. The crit chance is helpful. It helped crit cap me. It is, like I said, by no means required, but it does help. There are other modifiers that you can get. I can't think of any right now specifically, but the max energy shields, you can probably get that to be life instead of ES. And then Mage Blood. Now, you may say, oh my gosh, this guy, he's using a helical ring and a Mage Blood. This freaking character is so expensive, I can't do this. Well, hold on. Mage Blood is not required. It's just incredibly helpful. What you can do is you can replace this with a different type of belt. You can do pretty much any other belt out there. You'll want to automate your flask in some other way, i.e. When charges reach full, or when some other way, right? Automate your flask so that you don't have to keep hitting them, because the least amount of buttons that you can press in whenever you're running a heist is the better. So like I said, Mage Blood not required, but it is insanely helpful. It gets you your onslaught, Quicksilver, and your crit flask all to be up. Well, and the Jade Flask, all to be up 100% of the time, right? Plus you get increased effect on those flasks by rolling the orb that gives it increased effect. I can't remember right now. So for the Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh, we're using Pyromaniac for this build. Usually you want to get elemental ailment immunity, but because we're self-casting or we're self-chilling, we need to find a way to get immune to every ailment except for chill. And in this case, immunity to ignite and shock is huge. So getting a Forbidden Flesh and Forbidden Flame for Pyromaniac, please do not sleep on this. It's insane. Plus the regen that we get is no slouch. 10% of our regen is insane for each mine. 2% per mine, up to 10% per second, which in this case would be 5 mines getting triggered, which we do every time we throw a mine, because we throw 5 mines at once. Or another jewel is Intuitive Leap. Now, I did this so I could path down here and grab the evasion rating, movement speed, and cooldown recovery rate for movement skills. This is super helpful, but it's not required. And if you want to instead, you can get more base movement speed by replacing this Intuitive Leap with a Transcendent Spirit, getting this dexterity node, these nodes here, obviously, which is how many do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can probably take out another node somewhere, or just get another level. Be level 97. Actually, that's it. No. You just get these 2, and that's it. That gives you all the dex you would need. So that this Transcendent Spirit, I think, is like 19% movement speed. But it is more movement speed. So I went Intuitive Leap so I could, like I said, go down here and also get this jewel node, which is helpful for getting the Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh. This is This is probably not optimal pathing. It's as close as I could get. There is something to be said about getting a cluster jewel setup going, or at least doing like a voices, maybe 3 passive voices here when you have enough currency, and then put your 2 Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh jewels there, and then also putting in your Watcher's Eye. And then from there, you have an extra jewel socket. You can get rid of this whole tree right here, or you can still take this, but instead of going for the jewel, you can go for life and ES here, so on and so forth. And then Transcendent Spirit here. This is super crazy good. It's 30 movement speed because there's 8 dexterity nodes around. So as long as you capture all the dexterity nodes and you don't leave any behind, that would be the 2 here, this one, these 2, and these 2. All of those together give you 30% movement speed with Transcendent Spirit. Very helpful, insanely good for the build, because that's what we're going for, is movement speed. And so Watcher's Eye is the last jewel in the list. We're doing movement speed while affected by grace, and damage pen while affected by hatred, which we have both of those running. Both of those are very helpful. Movement speed, obviously, because we want as much as we can get. And then the damage pen for hatred, because we're running hatred and we're doing 100% cold damage. All right. I don't believe I talked about this, but if you don't know about the self-chill setup, so we have the trigger, which is what we talked about earlier in the video with Forbidden Rite. We use changing seasons to actually have the Forbidden Rite damage chill us. We have a 4-second cooldown on the trigger, which 4 seconds is how long the chill lasts on us when we have Lethe Shade. So you take Lethe Shade, it increases the duration of ailments on you 100% more by default, or with the setup without this, you obviously have 2 second, which means that, or 2 second chill on yourself, which means, you're not going to be 100% uptime on your chill effect. So, or your self chill action speed. So getting Lethe Shade puts you at 4 seconds, which is the exact amount of the 4-second cooldown trigger here. And therefore, you have 100% uptime on your chill effect, or your self chill, as long as you're throwing mines, right? Or casting, or putting some skill out there, right? Either the decoy totem, the mines, or phase run. So I didn't talk about this earlier. You take Soul of the Brine King, and whenever you do, make sure that you do not have the glaze configured on. I believe there's a way for you to turn it off. I've never done that before, but you want to make sure that you have Captain Tanner Lightfoot at least, so that you can get avoid being frozen, but you want to still get chilled for the self chill effect. And the rest of the tree is self-explanatory. Feel free to look at the POB and ask any questions that you have over the tree. I'm not going to go into each individual node. That would just take too much time, and we still need to get into the V2 version of the build. Leave any comments on the V1 build, and I'll be happy to answer them as we get there. So let's move over to V2. Okay, and now we're over to V2 of the build. So V2 of the build, the idea behind this is to make it as absolutely tanky as possible. I said earlier in the video, this was meant to be a project to make it unkillable in Heist. Obviously, you can't take this exact same build and go into maps and expect it to not die. That is a totally different ball game. But blueprints, you have the same exact mob types almost across the board. So you just get used to what those mobs are going to hit you with, and then just be okay with it, right? As you can see in the top left here, if a pinnacle boss was going to hit us, we would have an effective hit pool of 554,000. But because there are no pinnacle bosses in Heist, we have an infinite hit pool, which obviously that's just a buffer overflow with POB, and it can't calculate some of the defensive layers in the build. You get Help Creighton for more movement speed, and your minor god is going to be Soul of Aberath, because we changed the Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame jewels for a different one, and no longer have shock and ignite immunity. Getting this is very helpful because there are some times where you will be on top of Burning Ground, and it absolutely melts us. The good thing is that also gives us more movement speed whenever we have it, or whenever we're on top of it. So yeah, very, very good. So changes from the tree, a lot of changes, a lot of skill changes too. So first off, let's look at the ascendancy. Oh, Let's look at the ascendancy. So we no longer go for brine bound, right? While this is helpful for a defensive layer, it's not even at all required. But so instead of taking this, we take everything else: stealth chill, stormy seas, goes to the deep, and then we take sea legs because it helps us not only cap our cold and lightning res, but it gives us evasion rating for cold res. And we go pretty hard on the cold res, 77 overcapped, which gives us some more evasion rating. Gives us up to 56,000. So changes to this build. So very similar setup. We have the intuitive leap here, which Cryptid Blood can be inflicted on you. So the same as the V1 version of the build. And the reason why we do this is because we want to make sure that we have the reservation efficiency that's required to run all of our auras, which I'll get into in a second. We also want to make sure that we're suppress capped, we're block capped as much as possible. We have as much armor as possible, as much evasion rating as possible, and as much life technically as possible with capped chaos and elemental res. Now, as you notice, the movement speed that we have for this build is a little bit less, and the reason for that is because we are not utilizing. I believe we're not utilizing. No, we are using enhance. I can't remember exactly why this is less movement speed, but it is less movement speed. But in the interest of the whole reason why we're doing it is to make sure that we're as tanky as possible. And the only thing that can kill this build are heavy degens, but they have to come from a bleed. That would be the biggest one. Let's go over some of the changes. So we're trying to block cap. We go this way. We still grab these nodes here, but we go all the way to the left, grab all these block nodes, grab this life, grab this reservation efficiency, more life. We go endurance charge stacking instead of power charge and frenzy charge because we're not dealing any damage. More block nodes. We go versatile combatant so that we get even more spell block. That brings us to 82% block chance attack block and 80% spell block whenever we are using a fallen, which I'll get into in a second. More reservation, some spell suppress so that we get to 100% without lucky, and then we get the spell suppression mastery of prevent 3% more. That's most of the changes in a nutshell. We're still using Transcendent Spirit so we can get the movement speed here, but we're no longer running the evasion rating because we ran out of points. The evasion rating nodes here, and I think we're not using these because this is for damage. Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame is Clockwork. So like Clockwork gives us increased cooldown recovery rate, and this helps us with the auto trigger for Phase Run and Withering Step. It's not required. It's helpful, but it's not required. You actually might be able to get away with having the other Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh, so that you're Ignite immune and Shock immune. There is a debate for that, or that is a legitimate answer to the Ignite problem, and then you can make it even tankier by changing your Pantheon to be bleed immunity. But I went Soul of Aberrath for Ignite immunity, or at least less Ignite, and Burning Ground no longer hurts. Those are the big changes. Like I said, took out Frenzy Charge and Power Charge. We took off Ghost Stance because our energy shield's only 290, and there's no real reason to have it. And we have literally 0 wasted points here. Like we can't even take some of the masteries here unless we got more levels. But at this point of the build, there is level 96. I'm not leveling anymore because I'm not doing any damage. So we're just zoom. We're going to go over the skills. So this aims to do a dual curse setup. So what we do is we anoint Whispers of Doom so that we can get a second curse. And the way that our curse setup works is we're using Awaken Blasphemy with Enfeeble and Temp Chains with a level 3 Enlighten. These are in our boots, which are Ralakeshes. With Ralakesh's Impatience, this gives us +1 Socketed Gems so that we have a level 4 Enlighten socketed in our boots, which then helps us get to where we actually have mana left over. We don't need the mana left over, I don't believe. Actually, we might for the automation trigger. We do. We have this for that. So we'll go back to our skills. So dual curse setup. Another big change that we made is because we don't need our 6 line in our body armor for damage, we're doing an automation setup with both Withering Step and Phase Run. Usually, right, Phase Run will make it to where Withering Step is non-active or can't be active at the same time. And then the same with Withering Step. If you activate Withering Step, Phase Run can't be active. But whenever they are triggered using automation, both of them trigger at the exact same time. And because they trigger at the exact same time, you get both buffs. So because of that, we get all that movement speed with no problem. And actually, we don't even need the mana for this because we're putting it on life tap. Same exact links: Phase Run, Withering Step, more duration, enhance, and life tap with automation. This more duration applies to both so that they last as long as they possibly can. The big part of this is Decoy Totem. So we no longer do damage. So we need to find a way to trigger a taunt away from where the heisters or the rogues are doing their thing, so that minions or the mobs don't actually go and try to attack them. So this is very, very important. Getting level 21 Decoy Totem, I think, is just helpful to make sure that it has more life. And I think it actually gets more AoE as well, which then means more mobs can go and attack it, and you don't have to have as perfect placement of the totem as one would have without the AoE. Forbidden Right and Life Tap, again, same as V1, so that we can trigger our self chill. We also have Petrified Blood on Arrogance. So this is with the reservation efficiency that we get from Leader of the Pact, and I believe also, yes, this 8% reservation efficiency of skills with the 20% life reservation mastery, that gives us just enough to, well, not just enough, but gives us enough to be able to reserve 47% of our life with Petrified Blood, instead of so much that we would not have any life at all. But the good thing is Petrified Blood means that we're going to prevent some damage to hits, and that damage is taken over what is that, 3 seconds or 4 seconds instead of all at once. So increases our effective HP to the moon. Our max hits become a lot better whenever we actually do take damage. I have a Vortex with cast when damage taken setup. This is probably not required. I think Vortex can probably be replaced with Void Sphere. I think Void Sphere, or at least you can cast Void Sphere. I haven't used this. I haven't used Void Sphere yet. I haven't needed to, but I've heard it's actually very, very good. So if you've done it before, or if you want to do it, let me know in the comments. Or sorry, if you end up doing it, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear how you thought of it. Because we're running Fallen, we have the trigger socketed elemental spell on block. I put in here Molten Shell with Life Tap and Purifying Flame. So whenever we do block, Purifying Flame triggers off, and then Molten Shell is right after. So we have a lot of armor because we're running Determination, which I'll get to in a second. And so this improves our survivability just that much more. And it's probably overkill, but it's great. And so here are our main auras: Grace, Determination, Vitality in a Enlightened 3 setup. And I believe our helmet does not. Oh, it has +2 to level of socketed gems. So this Enlightened goes to level 5. We run 21 in all of these so that we get the most evasion rating, armor, and life regen that we possibly can. With the Enlightened, that puts us at 43 unreserved mana, which is enough to cast whichever skills that we need to. I think it's just the Molten Shell and the Purifying Flame are the ones that are. Oh no, they're life tap too. Vortex is the culprit needing 13 mana. Yes, that looks right. And those are the skill gems. Now we'll move over to the items. So these are not fully, These are not fully optimized. These are very, very close, but I didn't want to craft a new weapon. Because there's really not much you can do with a weapon, a scepter, for non-damage, besides getting more resistances. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I just basically took the same weapon I had in V1 and brought it over because it already had the trigger. And I just, instead of doing mine throwing speed, I put fire and cold res, so I could both cap my fire res and have the extra cold res so that we could get more evasion rating. Svalin, so that we block cap and our block chance is lucky. Insane shield. Svalin is just, if you've never used Svalin, it is an absolutely busted shield. It came out in this league in King's March Settlers, and it's broken. So good. We go Svalin here, and then Versatile Combatant, so that we can cap our block, our spell block chance pretty quickly or pretty easily. And then we get Lucky Block on this, which means we're blocking 82% of the chance, or 82% of the time. And whenever you're in the game, you can see that it's blocking a ton, and just throwing out the Purifying Flames just over and over and over again. So went Viridi's Veil because we do run 2 magic rings, 1 in each slot. So this gives us damage that enemies hit with us is unlucky, which is amazing. We are hexproof and we cannot take crits. So insane helmet, because we don't need any kind of damage mods. All we went for is life and I believe chaos res or cold res, because the cold res gives us evasion rating. So insane helmet. This came from a friend of mine who worked with me pretty much on the entire build. He created most of this. I just provided input and some tweaks here and there. Once we got it over across the finish line, yeah, insane helmet. Queen of the Forest, again, same as V1. We use it for the movement speed. It's very, very good. We have crafted gloves instead of the Hrim Sorrows. We want to get life regenerate. We wanted, or we needed to cap our spell suppress. These were actually so annoying to craft to get the 9% spell suppress implicit. I probably spent 45 divines. No, not that much. 25, 30 divines after getting all the suffixes done to craft the suppress. I was very, very unlucky. Kept trying to get to 9. I was going 7, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, just all over the place. And then finally hit 9. I jumped with joy and then said, what is the other mod that we can get that is, decent? And we decided max cold res. So there you go. Ralakesh's Impatience, so that we can get more cold res and more chaos res, as well as we don't have a way to generate endurance charges, but we have max endurance charges in the tree, or that max endurance in the tree. And so it gives us even more elemental damage reduction, and I believe fizz damage reduction. So we run this just to improve our defensive capabilities. Having frenzy and power charges are okay. Well, the power charges don't do anything for us. Frenzy charges, the attack speed is helpful, but I don't actually think we do any attacks. So yeah. Anyway, we're using Defiance of Destiny as our amulet with the life catalyst, so that we get it to 22%. I tried looking at getting a perfect one, and it's 2% more. It's overkill. You don't need it. Right? Just get one that's decently rolled, and then life catalyst it up, and boom, bombs your uncle. You're in great shape. This alone, as you can see, fire max hit, lightning max hit, and I think that's it. Yeah, fire and lightning max hit is it goes down 40% for some reason. So, oh, I know why, because it's resistances. Anyway, if you don't know how this works, basically what'll happen is whenever we get hit and Petrified Blood triggers, and we have less than our maximum life, which in this case is half, this will then let us gain the unreserved life back when we're hit, right? And it says by an enemy, so someone like a mob has to hit us, not any of the traps. I don't believe the traps are considered enemies. So when we run through the traps, I don't think that triggers this. And then we do the 2 magic rings. We're doing chaos res as our implicit, and then life and chaos res here. And then a vermilion ring for increased max life, which we then need a little bit. We needed a little bit of lightning res, but I was able to craft just all Ellie res and 110 max life. It's not amazing. It's not perfect, but it gets us there. The 7% max life is very helpful. It gets you just more life, right? I'm at 4490, so we can get it in, wherever we can get it, it would be great. And once again, Mage Blood, same exact one in V1. We just carried it over. You can replace this Divine Life Flask. You don't need it, but it's there. This is the same one I had in V1. You can replace this with a Progenesis. Absolutely overkill. I cannot state this enough. Absolutely overkill. This defensive part of the build this defense build is so over the top. Like, you don't need anything else. Like, with this setup, you will never die to a hit. You will never die to a hit in or any of the traps besides the degens ever. Like, ever. And so yeah, I believe that is it. Oh, let's go over the Watcher's Eye. So the Watcher's Eye changed because we no longer need the penetration, even though it looks like it's the same Watcher's Eye, but I just added a mod. I actually looked for the Grace and the Vitality mod together, and it just so happened to have the Hatred mod on there, so whatever. But the life per enemy hit is super good. Also overkill. You really do not need this, but it is just fun to have. The fact that, like, you just get more life per enemy hit, and the good thing is we're affected by vitality, and whenever they're hit, the enemies are hit by the triggered spell from Swollen. So, okay, so that is it. That is all of the 2 heist builds that I have ran for Legacy of Phrecia. I don't intend to make another heister. There are some people that have said, hey, why don't you take all the defensive here and then just add in a damaging skill, one that's less investment, and then just do damage. And I said, hey, that'd be great. Why don't you go do that? I was like, I've made this the most defensive it can possibly be, so I don't have to worry about damage or crit or whatever, right? So go take care of that yourself, right? Let me know what you think. Haven't had anybody come back and say, hey, not a good idea, right? Or whatever. They just, they said, hey, do this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Not going to do that, but I appreciate the recommendation. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Lots of content there. Feel free. There is probably a lot in here that I have not talked about. I will be releasing another video after this one that will talk about my heist strategy. I don't want to make it as long as this one. There are a lot of people coming into stream at twitch.tv/Antiswipe where they are asking for how do you do heist? What do you do? How do you get it off the ground? And there are really good heist videos out there on YouTube. Great content creators out there doing good work for the community. I will be making my own heist video because I want to talk through all of the questions and things that I got on stream. I also want to make sure that I engage with the community, with you guys, whenever you have questions about heist, outside of running these builds. So yeah, look for that video. Thank you so much for watching. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you so much. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video. See you later.